Guys, Matt Size here, and today I am back for day number 3 of r/Regular Revenge, where today I'm doing the fake special, because for some reason people need to make up fake stories for likes. So we're going to just be reading all the fake stories. Apparently there's 4 or 5. I don't know the third one. Okay, so let's start off with, so you wanted to mess with a guy who takes his job serious. I'll give you my story so you can determine if it should stay here. This is kind of like a throwaway account, but I don't know. I have lots of stories to tell, but here's one of the revenge ones I'll share. So 6 years ago, just a youngling in his junior year of high school, I was a hard ass and kiss ass. For context for story, I somehow managed to get a job in a baseball stadium. I worked in operations, and that's the bottom line for anyone to work. That job ruined the way I was. All the higher ups loved to shit on everyone in our operations crew. For some reason, I got my job offered again to me for that baseball season. Time for the good stuff. I found out they hired a young fuckboy to manage us. Fuckboy. I knew this guy, and I didn't like him. So this dickhead manager always bossed me and my other crewmates around. I called out for a reasonable day 2 weeks ahead of time schedule, and he didn't mark me off. And I asked him about it, and he says, "I never heard that you called out, OP, and I want you you want that day off. And if you want that day off, you have to find someone to cover it. Note, operations is a very small crew, and we all work the same days. It is very impossible to cover any days. Time for the juicy stuff. Very shitty day happened on a game day. It was loud. It was storming loud and crazy, like middle of tropical storm crazy. Lots of wind and rain. Game gets cancelled from the rain, filling up the field. We don't have to stay or clean or anything else. I'm a nice person. I go check for damage to see if any people leaving needs help. First thing I see is a tree on top of a shitty president's car. Not our guy who we are talking about, just the dickhead owner. Big old smile after that, and I go ahead and continue to look for damage. There's shit blown around everywhere. I go back to repeat everything to manager, and he gathers a small group of crew leaders and other managers. One of them says, do we have to stay? He says, yes. I go, no, we are not, and specify which article in our rulebook says so. Before I get ready to leave, I say to him, you're going to have lots of fun. We all start leaving, and the supervisor pulls me aside and say, hey, where are you going? We are going to a bar, and do you want to come? I'd go, but I'm underage. And they said something to me that I'll never forget. I know the person who runs the bar, and you really deserve a drink. A reward for telling the other crewmates the truth. And here's some better news. We are firing him after this season. I said yes, and went to the bar and basically outdrinked all of them and told them every little thing that douchebag did. I eventually called a buddy to pick me up. A month later, baseball season ends, and I got a letter from the baseball stadium. They wanted me to take his job. Moral of the story, don't fuck with someone who takes their job serious, and never fuck with someone who doesn't care. I also fucking got hammered and added all of them on Snap. Revenge at its best. Do I work there now? Of course, I love my job and my life. I'm glad his mistake got me a good paying job, and I hope he got better and has his stuff together now. Oh my god. The fact that I had to literally constantly scroll back and forth for that story, that is just, nah. That's just dumb. At that point, that's stupid. You don't do stuff like that. Revenge without lifting a finger. Years ago, I had to deal with a slimy excuse of a supervisor, Josh. Josh loved to sexually harass women. He had a tendency, if you rejected him for a date, as I had done, he would treat you rather badly and leave tasks unfinished. He had managed to get himself fired. However, it was not for his treatment of women, it was a safety violation. Later, he got me fired from my previous position at the same company for reasons that were as legal in matter, but not related to me. My current supervisor at the time, who hated Josh, promised to tell any prospective employer that I'd been laid off, not fired. A kindness that landed me a job at a knife shop in the mall where the following story takes place. Fast forward a few months where I got hired. One slow night, I was standing at the entrance to the store, talking with one of my regulars, when to my surprise, I saw my ex-supervisor, Josh, gone from store to store where women are on shift. When he came back to the out of the clothing store and across the hall from me, he saw me standing in front of my shop and decided I was next. I could immediately tell he didn't recognize me as he walked into the hall and making a beeline for me. It was then an idea formed in my mind. A sweet revenge. Giggling happily with a wicked smile on my face, I beckoned the regular to follow me back to the register. Watch this, I said, hiding behind the humidor on the counter. He was confused, but did as he was told, taking up position by the humidor near where I was standing. As expected, a few minutes later, in comes my ex-supervisor, a smug, satisfied grin on his face. I waited until he got past the threshold before I slowly sauntered up by the register, folded my arms on the counter in front of me, and put my chin on top of my arms. With a very savage grin, I say, "Hello, Josh." He immediately stopped. His gaze slowly going from me to all the swords, knives, and yes, even Gimli's axe hanging on the wall. All the while turning whiter and whiter as he realized, 1, who I was, 2, where he was, and 3, obviously what he had done to me flashing through his mind. Why would she attack you, man? He finally breathed in, oh, turned and walked out. Just as Josh was close to the exit doors, I bellowed out from the entrance of my shop, "Goodbye, Josh!" Which made him pause awkwardly in mid-stride, shuddering from head to toe, and he stood there for a moment, transfixed with fear, before he walked as fast as he could out the door, not once looking back. My regular and I stood laughing so loudly that one of the ladies at the clothing store came across from us, came out to see what was going on. In between tearful laughing, I shouted over to her what happened. I got a thank you from her. "You're welcome," I shouted back. Josh never came into the mall again. As incredulous as this story sounds, this event actually happened. It was also recorded by the camera in the store. I really hope that my boss got a laugh after he reviewed the tape. And yet, it has fake in the... as a flair on it. Maybe these stories aren't fake. Disregarding the bot, please read. We have the bot up and running perfectly, except when it doesn't. I've seen a few messages where it crashed and we have not noticed until it was too late. Please message the mods if you see a post that does not have a comment made by the bot on it. I have realized during the time that it has been active where votes are not being counted. I have realized that it is specific in what it's looking for, and I'll be looking into fixing this very soon. For the time being, please vote exactly as it is written. capitalization matters on your votes. Your vote does not look like the example in the comment the bot makes. It will not. It will not be counted as of now. Oh. Okay, so there's a poll thing that happens to decide if it goes in fake, karma, pro, petty, or regular. That's an interesting way of doing it. Okay. So now we know why these stories are considered fake. Fake friend gets karma and loses his girlfriend. I made a throwaway because I didn't want to post this on my main Reddit account. I was insanely unpopular at school. I wasn't bullied, but school just avoided me until I made my first friend, or so-called friend. We'll call him Joe. Joe was popular at school and he played sports. He was good looking and overall he seemed like a cool guy. He talked to me one day and said he wanted to be my friend. I didn't believe it at first, because why would you want to hang out with the most unpopular kid while you're the most popular kid? So he was determined. Joe would try to talk to me a lot, and he told me some personal things going on in his life. He ended up persuading me to become his friend. Since Joe was my only friend, I tried to talk to him at school, but he didn't want to talk to me. Back then I just thought he didn't have the time, but now I know he didn't want to be seen talking to the weird kid at school and damage his popularity. At the time, I had gotten myself a girlfriend from a different school. Just 2 weeks after we became official, I caught him and her in bed. I left and didn't talk to anyone. It really damaged my self-esteem knowing that my so-called best friend Joe and my ex-girlfriend stabbed me in the back like that. Pretty soon, we had a new girl come to school who we'll call Angela. This girl became popular pretty fast. She was pretty and had a real personality unlike Joe. I wanted to become her friend, but I didn't want to be naive. Angela and Joe started dating soon after she came to our school. One day, Joe texted me a picture of him having a threesome with Angela's best friends. I assume he sent it to me by accident. I honestly forget to block him, but now I could get my revenge. I made a screenshot and slowly but quickly tried to become friends with Angela, and I soon realized she was the exact opposite of Joe. She actually cared about her friends and wasn't embarrassed to talk to them. I honestly didn't want to hurt her by revealing the truth, but it had to be done. I explained the entire story I'm telling you to her and provided the screenshot of the text. All hell broke loose. She confronted him, and of course, classic Joe denied it. She provided the evidence. He was speechless. What did he expect? Word got around the school and other nearby schools. He went from hero to zero so fast. No one would talk to him. He became the school loner and quickly dropped out. I started with Angela and now we recently got married, and I remember this story. I guess it was a happy ending for me after all. Kara is a bitch, Joe. I want to see the votes. I want to scroll down and see what the votes were. No, there was no votes, huh? I could see this story actually happening. That's the funny thing about these stories. You can actually sort of see them happening. Okay, last story. Bully me and made me soil myself? I'll destroy you. Oh, jeez. I posted this story on Pro Revenge, but the mod said it's not pro enough and recommended me here, so here it is. This revenge isn't my story, but my friend who doesn't have a Reddit account. Don't worry, he gave me his permission to share. Let's call my friend Chris. This happened years ago when both of us were still kids, maybe around 10 years old. Chris was notorious for being bullied by a single bully. Let's name him Kyle. Why? I have no idea. As for me, I was a victim too, but not as bad. Most things done to me I can just brush off. Kyle and Chris is about the same age, but Kyle is much bigger and tougher. For some reason, Kyle is always extra rough on Chris. Apparently, wedgies and locker shoving is too mild for Kyle to dish it on Chris. The things he does is far too rough, such as tearing Chris's homework, sharp pencil throwing. It drew blood on numerous occasions, and one time Carl even cut a hole on Chris's backpack that when he lifted it up, stuff would fall everywhere. Oh. Chris tried to fight Kyle once in a while, but Kyle is just a weight level above. Think welterweight trying to fight heavyweight. The level of unfairness is huge. He brought it up to the teacher and even guidance counselors numerous times, but for some reason they see it as boys will be boys and brush it off as mild roughhousing. Chris's parents are timid folks and have zero backbone to show. For some reason they can't bring it up on themselves to muster courage to defend their own son, no matter how much Chris begged and pleaded. One day, during class, Chris had the urge to do number 2. Got permission to leave, and in the hallway, he happened to be Kyle. Usual bullying happens, and while Kyle realizes why Chris is in the hallway, Kyle bullies Chris even more, stalling him, until Chris actually peed and soiled himself. Kyle ran to the end of the hallway, then pretended to just walk into the same hallway where Chris had the accident. Pretended to just realize what happened. He pointed and laughed, bringing attention to a bunch of teachers and students nearby. Lots of other students were laughing as well, calling Chris a bunch of names, causing him to have a breakdown in the middle of the hallway. That was the last straw that broke Chris's back. A couple of weeks after the soil incident, we went on our school trip to a ranch. I forgot the name, but it was located somewhere in a dry and hot area. Surrounding the ranch were random bushes of cacti with various shapes of needles too. There are warning signs everywhere to stay in distance from the cacti. The thing that Carl did not know about Chris, he loved watching WWE. His parents, for some reason, allowed him to watch it, not pay for per-view at such a young age. Chris and I played wrestle a couple times before, so I already knew how much the show had influenced him. He did a couple moves from WWE that left me surprised yet amused. Kyle, being an obnoxious bully, tried to scare a bunch of students by bringing them close to the cacti when the teachers weren't looking. One of the students actually got pricked on the shin, and Kyle just laughed. Chris has had enough, ran towards Kyle using Bolt speed, and then just drop kicked him straight on the chest. Chris knew pushing Kyle wouldn't do a thing because of the difference in weight. Dropkick, however, not only surprised Kyle, but if performed correctly, will knock back anyone that lowers their guard. WWE taught Chris well. The moment Chris's feet made connection to Kyle's chest, Kyle staggered, tripped, and fell straight into a bunch of cacti. Various needles, hair thin, short, long, thick, barbed, you name it, is now all over Kyle's body. What's worse is, since it's hot, Kyle was only wearing a tank top, shorts, and flip-flops. Absolutely zero defense against the cacti. Kyle screamed in agony while crying bloody murder. Chris, once realized what he had done, quickly but swiftly marched himself to blend in with the crowd, pretended to act surprised on what just happened. One of the teachers saw Kyle's situation and called for backup right away. A bunch of teachers came and they all had the same look of horror because they didn't know what to do. They couldn't just release him until knowing the next step, because here's the damage. Kyle got a bunch of needles on his feet, so standing up wasn't an option. His sandals got knocked off his feet when he fell. Most of the needles are on his back, so laying down isn't an option either. On his stomach, no can do. While Kyle fell on the cacti, a bunch of small cacti flew into the air and landed on his front torso. Nowhere is safe. The faculty decided to pull the needles from his feet first while Kyle was resting on the bed of cacti while crying incoherently and screamed once in a while when needles are pulled. It takes around 10 minutes while muttering, "How did this happen?" over and over. Surprisingly, no one ratted Chris out. Instead, they quietly talked over themselves and thanked Chris for his odd brand of revenge. After his feet is clean of needles, they pull Kyle to stand on his feet. Another scream, Another cry. One of the teachers went to us and proceeded to guide us himself while the rest of the facility worked on Kyle's body. Sadly, we missed the 2 hours of screaming content from Kyle. After the tour had ended, we went back to our starting point, and at last, we have met with Kyle and the rest of the facility. They asked for Chris, while Kyle told them that Chris did this to him. However, the students, including me, bonded together and defended Chris tooth and nail. We all told the facility that Chris had been with us the whole time, and Kyle just tripped on his own because he wore flip-flops. Surprisingly, the facility believed us and instead reprimanded Kyle for wearing flip-flops to the ranch. Kyle, while flabbergasted but still suffering from the pain, his body looked like a murder scene. Band-aid everywhere, random blood trickle here and there. It wasn't art. It was an art piece of pain. After that day, Chris brought a tiny hand-sized cactus plant to the school every single day. He said that his parents wanted him to learn about responsibility by taking care of the tiny plant. The facility bought his story, but that's not the real reason why. He brought the cactus plant to warn Kyle that Chris was done with his bullying and not afraid to stand up to him again. Every time Kyle saw Chris with the cactus, he ran away. I guess Kyle has developed some sort of PTSD against cacti. What the? A Dropkick. Oh my god, damn. Just... I feel like that does fit through. But damn, that is ridiculous. Well, there's other revenge stuff, huh? Oh my god. I'm gonna end this episode here. Links will be in the description to the main channel and also the second channel that you're on right now watching this exact video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. Ding, ding. I'm the Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist out.